Welcome back.
So too.
I'm Sophie.
Oh, yes, and I'm Cass.
And this is
Podclass.
with Sophie.
And Cass. Okay, cool.
Music.
We got it.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about, I guess, we want to talk about something with like health, but there's so much to it. And I figured that we just like tackle it like little by little. So future podcasts will sprinkle health every now and then. But this one's going to be about diets. And the reason we chose the word fallacy or that title, I guess is because everything that I feel like we've been made to believe about diets is essentially like
Fake.
completely wrong. Yeah, it's fake. Yeah.
So
we have the science, we have the research, we have
the experience.
Which we're gonna get into today too, about like, you know, how we even got into like wanting to take care of ourselves. So
when we talk about health or wellness, to you, what does this mean? What does it encompass?
I would say it's like, I would say it's not just, well, now for me, because it's changed, you know? So if you asked me that question even like 2 years ago, it was a different answer, I feel. But now for me, health and wellness, it's just about taking care of myself, like on a daily basis. And I mean taking care of my digestion or taking care of like, you know, mental health too. Like, I don't just think it has anything to do with I'm not that it doesn't have anything to do with my physical, but it's more than just my physical. So I think it encompasses like a lot.
I remember when I was younger, I used to give myself the worst guilt trips over indulging here and there. It's like, oh my God, I love chocolate chip cookies. And when I would have chocolate chip cookies, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so fat. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like, it's fine to have chocolate chip cookies here and there.
This is the thing, right? You go into this cycle, right? So, you know, if you've ever, I guess, kind of ate in like a way of like dieting and stuff and like wanting, like you said, like preserve your like body, you always feel like it's all or nothing, you know? Like you feel like, well, if I have this cookie, then like I fucked up everything. So I would get into like, I fucked up everything, so let me just eat whatever because I, you know, I already messed up. Yeah, you eat the whole box. And then God, like how many grams of sugar are you having? Like, you know, I always, and like a little quick thing, always try to keep it under like 25 grams of sugar, and like let's not do artificial, because you know, really quick, like your body can't, like some of that shit that's artificial can't process it, so like
they don't know what it is.
It's like, what are you're like, you know, your fucking cells are like, what is this? Like I've never seen this fucking molecule in my life.
And then with that, there's a thing too, which we're gonna get into when we talk about like diets specifically. But there's a thing of like, I grew up, my mom, okay, and I don't mean to like expose her, but my mom, her version of dieting is I had a little piece of fruit for dinner, or I had 2 or 3 oranges for dinner, and that's it. And it's like, woman, if you, like, it's healthier for you to have salmon or I don't know, like a salad, something like actual food, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, than just fruit. Like, not saying that fruit isn't healthy, but it's not a replacement for a meal. And then also excessively eating fruit has a lot of sugar, a lot of these fruits, you know? So it's like also
candy, it's still sugar.
Exactly. So, okay. So let's talk about specific diets, right? We're going to mention 3 specifically. We're going to mention the Keto Diet, Paleo Diet, and the Atkins Diet. Okay. So the first one, the Keto Diet. Oh my God. This diet, I know at least 10 people who have tried the Keto Diet. And then every time that they gain weight, their solution is, I think I'm going to do keto again. And it's like, didn't it not work? Like, didn't you just try this and it did not work?
And you gained weight.
Yeah. Exactly. So what is the Keto Diet, Cass?
So pretty much 75% of your calories are from fat. And then compared to like 20 to 35%, which is like what they say is normal. And also requires like 5% of your calories from carbohydrates, which is ridiculous. When the normal is 20 to 50 grams per day, and about 15% of calories from protein. So it says that it takes about 72 hours for your ketosis to kick in.
To happen,
so
which is where the word keto comes from. Ketosis.
Yeah. So pretty much it's like if you don't stick to it, you're not in ketosis. So it's like, it's really all or nothing, which I think it's crazy, you know, because it's like, first of all, another fact, you need like, okay, your brain needs energy, you know, it requires so much energy, like a lot of your calories, it's like your brain that's using that. And you know, it's the only way that it can get this fuel is from carbohydrates. So if you're having 5% a day, you know how tired you're going to be?
Yes.
Mentally, like, just like fog.
And as a matter of fact, the primary use of this diet is to treat seizures in kids with epilepsy. So that just goes to show the effect it has on your brain, that they're using it to treat something related to this. And then, like most diets, the issue is it's not sustainable. You go on it for a little bit, but because you're so limited to certain amount of foods, you're eventually going to go back to eating what you were eating before, gain the weight again, you know, and then that's why people end up gaining weight. And then the health risks. There are health risks with these diets. Here we have low blood pressure, kidney stones, constipation, nutrient deficiencies, which makes sense because you're limited to so much. You know, social isolation or eating disorders, because you're so obsessed with what you can't eat that your friend can be like, oh, do you want to go have dinner at an Italian tonight? And you're like, no, I can't eat pasta. So you don't go to dinner and you don't do this and you don't do that. And then you end up isolating yourself and it becomes a nuisance and you end up quitting and again, going back to unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
Right.
And then what I hate that, well, okay, let's just go into that. But after, you know, we finish talking about the diets, but I just want to say, like, I hate that it does that. Like, it's like, you know, my eating shouldn't have an effect on like my interactions with people. And like, it's not about that. Like, then we go back to the question, what is health and wellness for you? Like, or like, you know, what is that for you? Like, why are you taking care of yourself? Like, what, you know, what's your purpose? Whatever.
Most of the time, sadly, I feel like most people, the answer is solely to lose weight.
Yeah.
You know, or I mean, maybe you don't want to lose weight. Maybe you want to have a big butt if you're like usually, and it sucks too, because of course, like men also go through this, but it's mostly women, you know, like I was talking with my mom again the other day and I'm like, how many times has my dad gone on a diet? Never. She goes, the only time he's gone on a diet is because I make him go on a diet, but he never is like, oh, let me go on a diet, you know?
Yeah. He's like, I'm good how I am.
Yeah, like whatever, you know, versus my mom, it's more like, no, you know, because us women, it's true. You do feel the pressure of like, you know, you need to look a certain way. And okay, so the other diet we're going to mention, Paleo diet. So again, a low carb diet. Okay. We're going to see this a lot, always avoiding and having a fear for carbs, which funny enough, I have to confess something. I used to be afraid of carbs until I met Cassandra, because I was like, oh my God, I can't have pasta. Oh my God, I can't have rice. Oh my God, you know? And I was only eating like chicken and.
Yeah, this girl's like, I'm gonna have chicken and like some cucumbers and tomatoes, which are well and good, but add a sweet potato to that, like, you know?
Yeah.
And like me coming from Jersey, you know, like we have so much pizza and pasta, and like that was my jam, you know? Like when I was out there with her, like I'd be like, yo, like I crave like pasta and pizza so much. And also being Dominican, you know, rice, beans, rice, moro, whatever, like always in my life. So I'm not saying that it's the healthiest, the way it's prepared, but it can be better, you know what I mean? And in moderation.
Yeah. Because I will say, like, for example, in Spain, instead of eating rice, we eat a lot of bread. Okay. You know how we eat a lot of bread? Like everything is with bread. You eat you eat pasta.
Mad loaves of bread.
You eat pasta with freaking bread, you know? And it's
like we do that here too. We do that here
Yeah,
too.
like I don't know. So for me, it was also like growing up because like everyone eats so much bread in my house. I was like, no, I cannot eat bread. Like I can only have bread for in the morning, like toast.
Yeah.
And then I learned, and funny enough, if you work out, I noticed a tremendous change in my performance
Mhm.
because when I wasn't eating as many carbs, yes, I was very lean, but I wasn't performing as well. Like I wouldn't be able to maybe go on like a 10-kilometer run because I don't
Yeah, you're
have the energy
exhausted.
to do that.
Yeah, you're exhausted, which is just, and then you get into this cycle, which I feel then you think it's your fault. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You think it's like, oh, I'm not strong enough, or I'm not like, I don't have
Mhm.
the willpower to keep going, or like to not eat this. But it's like, no, it's like you're human and your body's asking you for something.
For
Listen to it.
something. So okay, Paulo Diet, it
Mm.
avoids foods that came from farming, dairy,
Mm-hmm.
legumes, and grains. So
Yeah.
hold on a second. When I read legumes, that you don't
Yeah.
what? Like that is
Yeah.
the healthiest stuff that you could possibly eat.
Mm-hmm.
Lentils, chickpeas, like how is a diet recommending for you to not eat that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like how can that be healthy? You
Yeah,
know?
it does have some good things, which I like that
Mhm.
you can still have like, lean meats or, lean fish or whatever that is, and stuff that like you would have to have like
Mhm.
gotten in the forest yourself, I guess.
Mhm.
But like you said, legumes, for example, for a lot of like vegetarians, vegans, that's like essential. That's where we get a lot of our protein from because it's, where like what else like are we gonna, yeah.
What are you gonna eat if you're not
So
eating animal?
exactly. So it does help us a lot, but again, it's still restricting. You also fall into this like, once you like mess up, or you could fall into just eating really, really bad for some time and then gaining all that weight back.
Back. Mhm.
Um, which, people think like, oh my God, like how do you gain the weight back like and more? Like that's insane. But it's also like, you have to think you're practically starving your body, you
Mhm.
know, and
Mhm.
it's in a state of like famine.
Yeah.
So you're, getting into just like your body's asking for food
For
because
food.
it just needs some kind of fuel, and like sugar, and all these like simple carbs and things like that from bread and cakes and whatever.
Mhm.
It like elevates it, like it goes through the roof. Eventually it plummets, and that's why you want more. But it's natural that you're craving these things because that it's a quick fix for your body
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. And if you really think about it,
Mm.
these diets are usually implemented in countries where there's an excess of everything.
Mm.
And I feel like a very important issue to mention is education. Um,
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
because we have so much of everything, but we're not taught on how to use it. And this not
Mhm.
only goes for food, it really goes for everything that we have,
Yeah.
So which is why you see in especially Western countries that obesity is growing and growing. Child obesity is growing and growing. We're
Hmm.
going to talk later about countries, but here in Spain, child obesity has been increasing in the past
Yeah.
years as well, and it's like, it's because of this, the excess of everything, the excess of
Hmm.
fast food. You see fast food restaurants more and more here.
Yeah.
Processed sugars in the supermarket because my mom doesn't have time to make me a snack for school. So she just gets
Hmm.
me whatever she buys at the store and then that's what I eat.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, of like, snacks, it reminds me, when I was assisting this one teacher, it was like a first grade class, I think. And she did checks on the kids in terms of like, oh, you have your snack? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. What is it? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
fruit? Is it like a cracker, whatever? And like kids would get points, like good points
Yeah.
in like class dojo or whatever. So this is like a
Mm-hmm.
little application where they get points for the class, and they loved it. Because when you were little, you just love getting points for things.
Yeah,
Like
for anything.
you just love. You're like, I have 6 points.
I
Oh
got
my
a
God.
point. Like, yeah.
But But yeah, she would check them and like make sure that they like had a fruit. And if they didn't, they wouldn't get a point.
Yeah,
But I feel like
yeah.
it was encouraging them to like eat more fruit,
To
because you'll tell your mom, like, Ma, like I want a banana, you know what I mean?
part of the curriculum, like if you're studying to become a teacher for the public school system in Spain, is that, the health part that you have to bring it into school. And I remember when I was doing my internship, the teacher that I was with, this was a kindergarten class. She had a schedule, like a weekly schedule, and each day she wrote down what they had to bring. Like one day a fruit, the next day like a sandwich with, I don't know, like something healthy, I guess, in it. She was just very specific about it. The thing is, obviously some parents would follow and some parents don't. I'm no one to judge, but I feel like when it comes to health, you should be mindful of it. And this is why a lot of the times obese kids come from obese parents, because it's the habits that they're taught at home.
That they're taught, which is that's something that I have to say, that like how you learn from, it is important for you to like, I feel like, set your kids' eating habits, because I think that there's factors to losing weight that people think it's just, oh, I have to eat very, very good and work out a lot. No. Like sometimes it's like, do you watch something while you're eating? If so, turn that off and just sit with your food and eat your food. And you're going to start to notice changes in your eating habits, because you are being more mindful of how you're eating.
How much are you eating? One thing, remember, one thing that I noticed when I moved back to Spain that I guess I had never noticed before is the size of cups and plates in the States. I have cups in my house that we bought in the US, and then I have cups that are made like they were bought here in Spain. And literally the American cups are half a liter, like it's this big, and then the one from here is like this. And it's funny because one of my friends, every time she comes over, she's like, everything in your house is so big. It's like, it's just because it's from over there. And it's the same thing with the plates. Like when you go to a restaurant, the portion sizes in the US are insane. The amount of food that you get, which I mean, you're paying and you're like, oh, I get so much food. But then people are like, okay, I'm going to eat the whole thing. And it's like, no, like that's like for 4 people.
And that's the thing. It's like you're gonna, and you think that like, oh my God, but if I start eating smaller plates, then, I'm just gonna stay hungry. You're not. Because it's mental. You're gonna eat that and your body's gonna think, oh, whatever, I finished the plate, I'm full, but you actually like ate.
It's a visual thing.
Yeah, it's definitely visual.
It's a
maybe
visual
a quarter
thing.
less of the food that you would.
And I always tell my mom, I'm like, a little trick, if you're trying to eat less, use smaller plates, because if you fill a smaller plate, it's probably going to be less food than a big one, but visually you're going to think you're eating more because your plate is full.
Yeah.
So it has a lot to do with like the psychology behind it, of like, what you're looking at. I always think of the Cheesecake Factory. Like the sizes at the Cheesecake Factory.
The portions are like huge.
So big.
I've never been to the Cheesecake Factory.
I cannot believe you. I mean, you know what? Whatever. We'll go together. But okay. The last diet we're going to mention is the Atkins Diet. It holds that eating too many carbs, especially sugar, white flour, and other refined carbs, leads to blood sugar imbalances, weight gain, and heart problems. So it encourages to eat more protein and fat. So again, stay away from carbs, eat more protein and more protein and more protein. So apparently in this diet, there are 4 phases. And the fact that there are even 4 phases, it's like, it's so organized.
That's too complicated.
You know what I mean? Like it's so organized.
Too complicated for me.
Jesus. And then again, we're going to find similar risks than we found in keto. Headache, dizziness, weakness, fatigue, constipation. If your bowels are not working properly, you're not eating right.
Yes. I always, like Sophie knows me. I'm the fucking
probiotic
fucking
queen.
Kombucha queen over here. I should get that kombucha queen, honestly, because I if my digestion's off, something's off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I know I've been eating wrong, or I'm not wrong, but I know I've been eating shit, you know, like
Yeah.
straight up. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, honestly, like I need to get on it, like, because you know, I feel like, yes, your digestion is everything. Like that is like, because we have, you know, we have our vagus nerve that runs from the stomach to your brain, and that is the biggest nerve like in your
Your
body, and it
system.
transmits so much information. Yeah, it transmits so much information between, like, they talk to each other, your gut, like, you know, that gut brain connection, like it's so real. And you know, your body speaks to its parts. So
That's the thing I
I think it's
learned from
important.
you as well.
Mm,
Because when
mm.
we moved in together, I'm not going to get too much into detail, but when we moved in together, my digestive system was not where it was supposed to be.
Wait, that's why you said I'm not gonna get into details. I'm like, wait. I mean, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I was so sad. And you're
No,
like,
yeah.
girl,
I'm like,
my
girl,
fucking
what?
digestion, only Cassandra knows.
Yeah, because I was really going through it and I was like, yo, what's going on in my body? Like, this shit is fucked up. And it was because
Yeah.
I was, one, under so much stress. Two, I had
Mm.
been in 3 different countries in 1 week. So like the
This girl
foods
was
that
just
I was eating, it was like, you know, my body was like,
the
what is going
source.
on? You know,
Yeah.
and that was reflected on my skin. It was reflected on my mood. It was reflected on everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's like your stomach, if your stomach is acting up, it can be a result of a lot of things. You know, what are you eating? What are you consuming in terms of like your energy, your time? Like, are you stressed
Yeah.
out? Which is why it's so important, again, to take care of what you eat. Because if your stomach is so sensitive to things like that, imagine how sensitive it is to what you're putting inside of it,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. I I really think that like I said, like honing on back on the digestion and stuff,
Mhm.
like you think like, why would I don't know, like why would I be constipated from some diets? Well, you're lowering your carbohydrate intake, and that's how you get fiber in your system. You need fiber to digest shit. Like you know, it's very simple. It's like one, two, three.
Yeah,
So
and I actually read somewhere that people mostly, like, one of the things that they lack the most is fiber. Like, it's one of the things that it's
yeah,
hardest to get into, like, because I guess like not that many
yeah.
foods have that much fiber.
It's just,
Yeah.
if you're eating the right food, you should get enough fiber,
You should be getting enough
you
fiber.
know?
Exactly. So if you're not, again, constipation, these diets make you feel constipated. You're not getting enough fiber
Yeah,
because the foods that provide the
yeah,
fiber, you can't eat them, you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
So, how can we get healthy without dieting, right?
How do I
What
do
can
it?
we do?
What's the step?
What's the
Phase one,
step?
two, and three.
There's
No, I'm
really
kidding.
no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because it's different for everyone.
Yeah, that is so true. So, and then we go back to, well, not go back, but intuitive eating, what we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
before. So, there's this thing called like the anti-dieting movement. Pretty much what it is just like, I'm not gonna diet anymore. I'm just going to eat for my body and live my life. And food is going to be something I enjoy rather than something that I, you know, loathe because I can't have what I want to have. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, so I think that intuitive eating is definitely like some of the things that we already touched on. It's you eating for, you know, not to like get like super, super full, but eating to fuel your body. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta think of food differently still. I feel like you have to think of it as like something that is going to also give you energy to just go about your day. Like, why can't it just be about like giving you your body energy rather than you depriving it of things, you know, of food?
Like, food is what nurtures you, you know?
Mm,
And again, it's a mental thing, 100%. I feel like the most important thing, if you want to get healthy, is building a healthy relationship with food. Not
mm,
obsessing over it, which it's very hard. It's easier said than done, especially when you want to lose weight. And sometimes when you don't see progress, it's
mm.
frustrating because it's like, oh my God, what? And then that's when you start depriving yourself, but it's eventually going to lead you again to binging. Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, I feel like also depending on where you're at in terms of what you're eating, you need to de escalate. slowly. Like you can't go from eating 5,000 calories a day in terms of amount of food to just eating one meal, like a salad. A lot of the times I hear a lot of people, no, I'm going to diet. And then all they eat is salad. And it's like, that can only last so long. You know, you can't just eat salads every single day.
Yeah. Like you said, your mom with the 3 oranges.
With the 3 oranges.
And but it's like that's so true. Like, you know, something about the something that they bring up in intuitive eating is honor your hunger. Like, it's okay to be hungry. Like, it's okay to like eat, and maybe like you're like, damn, I'm not really that full, or like I want something more. Then have something more if that's how you feel. Like, maybe you need it. Like, you just do. You know, and going to, you know, some of our research, because I did want to mention some stuff. You know, dieting and these unhealthy like weight, like, you know, like measures that people go through, it just hurts you in the long run. Like, if your goal is to lose weight and you're like, no, but like, no, Cass and Sophie, like, I need to lose 10 pounds and I know it, you know, like this is how I feel. I'd feel more comfortable if I did. Okay, I hear you out now.
Yeah.
But don't do it in a way that it's like, I need to lose it in 2 months. No.
Exactly.
Don't give yourself a timeline. Yeah. There's no, like, who's waiting on it? You know what I mean? Like, who's waiting on you to lose those 10 pounds?
Or
you know?
a lot of the times, like, oh, maybe you have a special event. Like, I need to lose 20 pounds for prom.
We're all guilty of this.
And it's like, don't lose the weight solely for prom. Do it because you want to look good, or you want to feel good, more importantly.
Feel good.
You know, because I will say this, again, going back to like women going through this, beauty standards. Okay. I have noticed, obviously being European but growing up in the US, especially in a city like Miami, which I feel like there is a culture of like, because I guess the heat, there's a culture of certain body types, I guess. Here in Europe for the longest time, or I want to say specifically Spain, for the longest time, you know, you had to be skinny. Like, having a nice body was you being skinny and tall. Okay. So kind of imitating the model-like figure. Versus I felt like in Miami, it was more a thing of like, no, like thick, you know what I mean? Like, have your legs and your butt, but don't have a belly. You can only have a butt and like thick thighs, but don't have a belly, like a flat stomach. So it's like already for me as a teenager, it was so confusing because it's like, okay, like, do I need to be skinny? Do I need to have a fat butt? Like, what is going on here? I am so confused. And I remember struggling, like when I was a sophomore in high school, I think that's the skinniest I've ever been. I was only eating fish and chicken, doing mad cardio. And then I went from that to my junior year of high school. I gained like 20 pounds, which is like, why did I gain so much weight? I don't know. You know, I was confused with what I was doing with like in terms of my diet. And I look back at the pictures now and it's like, how did I like in 1 year change so much? And it's because, again, I didn't know what I was doing, and misinformation as well. And what was misleading a lot was social media, because you see these unrealistic body types. And as a young girl, you think, oh, you know, if I do this because she's doing this and she's promoting this, which again, we're going to go into the shakes, the diet with the shakes. I'm not going to mention any brands because I don't want to get sued.
No, that's so funny. You gave me I've been watching Seinfeld. Like, I've just like been just watching it from the beginning because I wanted to get the way you said that was very Jerry like Seinfeld. You were like, the shakes, the diet with the shakes. I'm like, okay.
Because bro, I am so tired of having people. Yo, hold on a segundo. Tell me how on my educational page that I have children's books and worksheets for children. I have had people message me, oh, are you interested in like working, like selling diet shakes? Like, it changed my life. And I'm like, first of all, I don't need to change my life like that. And second of all, like, what? Like, why are you selling something that's not true?
This is my thing. Like, with those kind of like, oh, like, it's a business. You know what I mean? And a smart one at that. Because think about this, like, if it doesn't work, whose fault is it? It's not
It's
theirs.
yours because you're not doing it right.
It's yours because you're not doing it. Exactly. Like, okay, so you have no one to complain to. And you keep coming back because you think it works. Like, who are these testimonials? Who are these actors that they're just hiring to be like, yeah, it worked for me, whatever.
And I'm not
Like,
gonna
you're
throw
lying.
shade or anything, but I feel like I am unintentionally. Usually, the people that sell these shakes are certain kinds of crowd. In the sense, it's usually people that have not studied nutrition. It's usually people that have not studied about wellness. Usually people who have not studied, period. Okay. And they're selling you information that it's like, espérate, where are you getting this from? It's sad because I feel like a lot of the times that people that fall for this, they're at a point that they're desperate in the sense of like, I don't know what else to do. So I'm just going to do this shake diet.
Yeah. But like I said, it is also an experience because like I, like similar to your story, I like when I was in high school, like my first year I did crew and like that shit whipped me into shape, like that really, really, I was so like into it. I loved it. And, and then after I lost the baby weight, whatever, I was like a 15 or so. Yo, you couldn't get me out of the gym. I was obsessive at that point. I was just like, all right, I have to go. And can you believe all those years I never felt like I was skinny enough? And, you go back and you look at those pictures, you're like, yo, I was like this. Like, what did I expect? And I just lived so unhappy for so many years. And I just bred this insecurity that, when we're saying like you're insecure, like, and you think like, oh, it doesn't just affect, like, how you think you look. Like, it affects how you interact with people.
Yeah,
it affects what worth you give yourself.
What you put up
because
with.
you don't think you're enough. So it doesn't just go, we're not just talking about like, a pant size. We're talking about how you feel about yourself and how you feel about yourself with other people. Like it's much deeper than, just your clothes, or a number on a scale.
Yeah.
But I did want to get into a little bit of what you mentioned with so sorry. A little bit with what you mentioned about like how we were saying like no diet is really like, you don't have to follow a diet to be healthy. But there's some research that they show that Mediterranean lifestyle / diets.
Not for nothing or whatever, but I did some research on the healthiest countries in the world because I was interested to see like what are these people eating. And coming to find out, the healthiest country in the world as of 2020 is Spain, following Italy. So, okay, I grew up eating Mediterranean. Even when we were living in Miami, Cass knows this. My mom cooks a lot. I think it's also a cultural thing. I was talking to her about it. Here in Spain, there is people don't eat out like that. Like, this, people usually eat at home and then maybe on the weekends you eat out or maybe you go out for a beer, but people cook on a daily basis, which I think is a huge factor in that as well, that everything is home cooked. Also, I think it has to do with the actual food, like the tomatoes and everything is I feel like it's more organic, I guess, than in other places. But mostly they were saying the Mediterranean diet because of the foods that we have. It's primarily legumes, somewhat fish, very little meat, lots of vegetables, olive oil. We say that olive oil is liquid gold because it's liquid gold.
It tastes like it.
Yeah. And I remember my mom, when we were living in Miami, she would always say, I don't understand how people cook here with vegetable oil. What even is that? She was like, what is going on here? And also, I feel like the Mediterranean diet is a very simple diet in the sense of flavor. Like, we don't season food that much. My mom always says a good dish always starts with peppers, onions, garlic, and olive oil. And that's it. Like, you don't need to be adding, she cooks a lot with cumin as well. But in terms of taste, it is maybe bland for some people if you're used to something stronger.
But the ingredients are also so good. I just wanted to mention that. Like, that's another thing. Like, really think about like the source of your food as well. Like, I guess we're kind of getting into like healthy eating habits. So yeah, think about the source of your food. Like, Gosh, I think that colors in my on my pat like on my plate is I love, like a vibrant food plate. I
Yeah,
feel so good,
yeah. Like if I had
when
to
I eat stuff like
say
that.
a week in like my house in terms of like what we eat, I would say that in my house we've always eaten pretty healthy in the sense like my mom doesn't fry a lot either. We don't fry foods here.
Yeah.
But it's mostly a tomato salad with cucumbers, maybe some mozzarella, and then maybe I eat a lot of fish, a lot of grilled fish. We have good, also the prices here for fish, it's a lot cheaper than maybe in the US. There's a lot more
No,
variety.
groceries out there, even like with the no, it's like groceries out there, it's crazy. Like what? Like
Yeah.
we would literally with maybe 40 euros, and that was when we went hard on dishes. I mean, the dishes on groceries.
A
Like
full
40
week.
euros, bro,
A
a
full week
full
for the
week,
both of
and we
us.
would have for both of us exactly, and we would have vegetables, we would have like that fridge just stocked like
Salmon, like,
salmon, yogurt, and like,
yeah,
also we are
yeah.
just mindful of like sugar, like so granola
Mm-hmm.
that we would get, we would be like, yo, how much sugar
Yeah,
does
how
that
much
have?
sugar does it have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's like where they can
And
hide
also
it.
with being healthy, I know we're talking a lot about diets, but it's also habits in general.
Mm,
Like for example, you were saying like in high school that you started like really working out and stuff. I always say like, because I have a lot of people like my cousins or like friends ask me like, oh, like what do you do like to work out? And what works for me might not work for you simply because maybe you don't enjoy it. So like if you don't enjoy it, you're
yeah.
not going to be consistent with it,
Yes,
you know?
yes. I think that this deserves a whole other freaking
Mm-hmm.
episode, but definitely like movement should be yours. Think
Mm-hmm.
about it that way. Like however you want to move is, find your flow. Like I love to do yoga. Like that's my jam, And I like to run occasionally. I did used to like want to like lift a lot and do circuit training, but I moved out of that and I enjoy this much more. So it's like I get excited to go for a class and I don't think about how I'm gonna look because of it. I think like, oh, I'm excited to just
Mm-hmm.
de-stress and do
To do
yoga,
it,
you know?
yeah. Like
Yeah.
even like for me, it's the same thing. Like when I'm really stressed, I look forward to working out because I enjoy what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
then, for example, going back to why did they categorize Spain? Another reason is because people here are very active in the sense that we walk everywhere.
Yo, that's so funny. Like, really quick, shout out to my cousin Arlene because when she went, yo, the last day, she's like, yo, I can't walk anymore. I have a foot cramp. I can't anymore.
It's
She's like,
like
yo,
that
you walk
though.
everywhere.
We walk everywhere here, and it's funny because also like when I go to Miami, like I'll tell my friends, no, like that's right there. It's walking distance. And they're like, Sophie, your opinion doesn't count. Cause like for me, everything is walking distance. you
Everything, literally.
But that's why, you know what? Actually, growing up, like when I was living in Miami, I would come to Spain for the summer and I would always lose weight in the summer. And like I
Yeah.
was, I would never like deprive myself of anything. And it was because I would
You
walk
walked.
so much,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
that's so, that's another thing about like, because I've seen some stuff about like healthiest countries, and that's a big thing.
Mhm.
It's like there's a lot of walking, and that's like they say like the key to health is just like walking, like, which is
Walking.
crazy to me. But it's also nice because I would love to go on walks with you because another good thing is like we're talking, we just
We're
talk and like
talking.
go on a walk and like whatever and just enjoy that and go back to the house. So yeah, we went on like maybe an hour walk and we didn't even realize
Yeah, we didn't
because we
even
were just
realize it because you're enjoying. And
yeah.
sometimes a lot of people like you go for a walk and then maybe you stop and you have some coffee and then maybe like you walk back. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more also like a social thing, like a cultural
Yeah.
thing to, because even here, like I go on walks all the time, like with my mom or like some friends. It's you don't have to go somewhere. And I remember
Yeah.
one thing, like my dad being in Miami, that he was like, people here don't walk. Like we would go to the mall and just to walk. Like I remember going to Dolphin
Yeah.
Mall. If you're from Miami, you know what I'm talking about. Literally just to walk, like not even shop or anything. Cause it's like there's nowhere to walk around here. And it's like a
Yeah.
cultural thing. And also, of course, how the cities are set up. Because everything here is
Mm-hmm.
closer, like it's smaller.
Yeah. I think infrastructure is another thing that, I here don't really have unless I go to a park,
Yeah.
I don't really want to walk anywhere, And then while over there, I leave my house and,
Mm-hmm.
I could go walking anywhere. Like, and it was nice to walk. Sometimes you see like
Mm-hmm.
some nice stuff. So it's definitely like that is a factor, but sometimes you got to work with what you got. So
With
go
what
to a
you got,
park,
yeah. Go to a park,
Mhm.
or there's so many things you can do. Sign up for a Zumba class, or I don't, and then you
Yeah.
meet people too. If you don't, maybe you want to start running. There are running
Yeah.
clubs. You can like meet
Yeah.
people there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing we were going to talk about was intuitive eating, right?
Yes. So I did want to bring up, so intuitive eating, reason that like there's saying this is just eat for you, like eat for, learn your body first, learn what you need, what you want, what you like. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, don't eat Brussels sprouts. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to, like you don't have to force yourself to eat things that you don't like. Even though I make some like honey soy sauce Brussels sprouts, that my friend like gave me this recipe, it's really really good. But anyways, if you don't like that, don't have it. Like it's not, no one's forcing you, but like do have stuff that's good for you so you can, take care of yourself. But people have to realize that nutrition is not the only thing, that encompasses health. Like you have, it's like literally like I think I read something that's like maybe 30% or less than that actually has to do anything with your health. So if you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
take care of yourself, it's also your other habits, smoking, drinking, like things that
Oh my
like that you
God,
do, like
yes.
how often do you do that, like
How often?
like
Mm-hmm.
is it just, yeah, like is it just with, with friends, or like are you like a little excessive with it? So you have to be real with yourself too and just analyze it from
Your
like all
behavior.
levels. Yeah.
And a lot of it, I feel like intuitive eating, a very big part of it is mental health. Like
Mm-hmm.
some things they say: respect your fullness, discover the satisfaction factor, honor your feelings,
Um,
respect your body. It's a lot
yeah.
of like inner self love
Yeah.
and
And it's
respecting
always
that.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like what you were saying with, why do people excessively drink as a coping mechanism for an issue that they don't know how to deal with, and then they drink, and that happens a lot with addiction, with anything. You can also be addicted to food.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, again, you need to analyze, ask yourself, because what makes you feel bad. You just have to stop for a
Yeah.
second and ask your body, what is it that's making me feel this way?
Yeah.
And change it.
Yes. Something that you were saying, like, listening to your body. Something from the anti-dieting movement that they bring up is like, think of your health independent of weight. Like, don't think about like what you weigh. Like,
Mm-hmm.
first think about like you and your inner self and like how are you doing, and then like start to like, because I think that once you start to work in, I mean, everybody says this, but when you work in, it shows like out, like
Yes.
you have a glow, you literally have a glow to you, because you are, your weight and food and whatever is, that's
Yeah.
not a stress, like it doesn't stress you anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
used to really really, Joe, when I tell you that I used to look at myself every day. And I remember one time someone's like, oh, like you're, like jokingly, like kind of saying like you're so vain. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you only knew, I'm not vain, I'm just so self-conscious that I have to look at myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean, like it's not me being vain, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not, I'm not
I
admiring myself.
That's the thing too. I feel like people confuse self-love with you being conceited. Like, don't
Mm.
get me wrong, if you're obnoxious about it, like, okay, maybe you gotta chill. But like, just because you acknowledge, like, for example, if I look good or
Mm-hmm.
if I feel, let me rephrase that, if I feel that I look good and I
Yeah.
like how I look, and this doesn't mean you have to have a six pack at all. It
Yeah.
means, how do you feel? If embrace it. Like, be proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, I got a nice body. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's telling you, oh, you love yourself too much, that's just them projecting onto you how they feel about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to say that when we talk about healthy, we're not talking about skinny. I think that's also very important to address, because a lot of the times
Yeah.
we're like, healthy, oh, skinny. No, you can be
Yeah.
super skinny and be unhealthy. You can be
Yeah.
really big and you can be, well, I mean, obesity, you know, but you can be maybe a little bit chubby or whatever and be super healthy and have
Yeah.
healthy habits. And maybe that's just your body type.
Because weight is, you know, in a study I was reading, weight is independent of it. Your body, for example, can be in like in a starvation mode because you're depriving of it and still be overweight because you're not supplying your body with the nutrients that it
That it
needs.
needs.
It's not about like, you know, how many calories am I hitting? Also, like the way they set up the calorie thing, there's this book called the Fuck It Diet. I'm gonna link it. It's really, really fun comedian that like she was just tired of dieting, so she just did a whole bunch of research and you know she just like lays it all out. It's really, really good. I recommend. But and she was just, you know, explaining how the FDA made like the 2000 calorie thing, and it's just it's really like I'm not gonna get, you know, into the details, but it just shows that like it's an average, like, you know what I mean? You need to learn yourself, like you need to know what you need to be good, because you're like no one like has figured that out, and no one's gonna figure it out for you, you know. You like you need to do the work, and not just do the work and like work out or eat really right. No. You need to educate yourself, like learn about what your body needs. You know, like I remember the first time that I started to think of it differently, and I won't forget it. I was doing like a lesson on like you know, carbs and fat and stuff, and how like our bodies, I'm like, yo, like how does our body take in carbohydrates? Like what does that do for our body, really? You know, and like learning like, oh, it's so important for the brain, you need it for that. I'm like, oh, okay, so like I don't need to be afraid of carbs because they help my brain function.
Yeah.
It's realizing that it's not about, you know, like the line, because if I start dieting, you know, and I want to restrict myself, even like we said, eventually you're going to fall back into it. If you do that for years at a time, it shows that people, there was a study that showed people who eat, I mean, you know, eat and have unhealthy, like eat unhealthy, like this, like they go through those, okay, people who diet, eventually you end up gaining 4 times the weight of someone who isn't even trying to lose weight. They like, because you're going through these periods of starving and like a starvation, your body thinks it's going through famine. So your appetite revs up to like 3 times because your body's like literally forcing you to eat
And
food.
I
That's why
feel
you're
like
always
it's
so
also,
hungry.
yeah, I feel like it's also the obsession. Like the more
Yeah,
you tell
yeah.
yourself, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, you're going to end up eating it because you're, you know, you're constantly thinking about it. Because I feel like diets, one of the things that they do is because everything is so controlled, it's like you have to obsess about it because you have to constantly be thinking, oh, what am I going to eat next? What, at what time do I have to eat? You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, why can't you just eat when you're hungry?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And
Mm-hmm.
I recently, like the way that I've been eating has been very intuitive, to be honest. It's been more like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm craving this today. I'm going to have maybe for breakfast one day I want avocado toast, and maybe one day I want peanut butter, and maybe one day I
Yeah.
want granola, whatever, you know. I don't deprive myself as long as I'm getting my nutrients in.
Yeah.
Which is the most important part, you know.
The most important part, yeah. And something I was gonna also mention, instead of just thinking of what you can't eat, why don't you find things that you can?
You can.
You know, you can, don't just like take stuff out and then leave yourself like with like bare, you know, like supplement that with other things that are healthy for you, and hey, maybe you'll like those more and you'll feel better because of it. That's how you start changing the way you eat, by incorporating better foods. Don't think about everything you have to take out,
You
like
have to
that's
take
not
out,
gonna
exactly.
do
But
anything
what
for you.
can I eat? You know, and a lot of the times people is like, I don't know what to eat. That's another thing too. A lot of times people, I have friends that they're like, oh, but I don't like vegetables, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. So like, what can I eat? Do your research, you know, do your research and look at what things that you do enjoy eating. Or, I mean, if you need to go to a nutritionist, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you need maybe a guidance, someone to help you, but go to a
God, yeah.
professional. Don't, you know, believe what you see on Instagram. Again, you know, these flaquitas with the big butts and the big boobs,
Angles. It's
advertising
about angles.
tea that's gonna make you have a six pack. Like, no tea is gonna make you have a six pack.
Yeah.
Or, you
No.
know, like the waist trainers. Oh my God, I remember the trend of the waist trainers. I was a freshman in college and I had a nutrition class
Mm-hmm.
at Miami-Dade.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I used to go to the gym in the school. And I remember during this time, I was obsessed with cardio and not eating carbs. Okay. And I would wear my waist trainer every single day to class. Mind you, that thing makes you
Oh my
feel
God.
like you are dying,
You
like
can't
you're
breathe. Yeah.
suffocating. So I remember I asked my professor, and he's like, those are actually really bad for you because they suppress your organs, like literally your organs inside are cramped up. And
Mm-hmm.
physically, it's going to do nothing for you because even if you feel like you're sweating more at the gym, it's water weight, it's not fat.
It's not gonna really change anything. Like, that's the thing. It's like, again, why? It's, go back to why are you
Putting
like,
myself through
I
that.
mean, like, why are you doing that? Like, are you okay?
Like, why was I putting myself through that? Stop,
Like, you're in
bro.
class, like,
I was in class, like,
class,
I'm
like, you
about
can't breathe.
to faint. But, I have a small waist. Like, what? You know what I mean? And then it's like
But
Photoshop. Because you see these small waists on social media. It's freaking Photoshop most of the time. So, long
Rebecca,
story short.
long story, very, very long story. Cut
Very
very
short.
short.
You guys do your research, don't get
Yes,
obsessed about stuff.
don't get obsessed. I'm going to put because we did so much research. I feel like we talked a lot. So, whatever we like mentioned and stuff that we talked about, stuff that we've, obviously learned about. So, I'm gonna put everything, links to videos, links to
Everything, the
papers, links
articles we
to
found,
book,
everything.
everything.
All right.
So yeah, it
Well,
was fun. I was very exciting.
see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.